like, oh, you did a record, got to do a movie. It's kind of what is that what you're saying, right?
It's not like you owe us a record and a movie. I think that they signed a contract to do certain amount of movies back, once Hard Day's Night became, was a successful thing. They were like, we got to get these guys to do more movies. So they immediately signed them to a contract to do 3 more movies. Help would have been one. And the other one was the Magical Mystery Tour film. Another one would be Yellow Submarine. And then Let It Be, was that part of the original movie deal? I don't think so.
I don't think there's a movie deal. I don't think because
they just decided to do that, Tony.
They decided to do.
But they're just
but that's more of a documentary as opposed to
this thing. And then even the Yellow Submarine record is the second side. When you flip it over, it's all George Martin.
Right. It's the soundtrack.
Movie music. So you're just like. They kind of pulled a fast one on you there too. Just like, okay, we'll get the movie out. We'll get a record out. That's kind of like a Beatles record, but the other side is all George Martin. But still,
it's these deals, I think, that also contribute to the breaking up of the band or the tension and the stress of from the beginning of this stuff, I keep saying they put out such a tremendous amount of work in such a short period of time, and it's like they're constantly under these obligations. And we all know because we've played in bands. I mean, the stress.
I think we're mixing and matching what is a contractual obligation and what they decided to do. I don't know.
Yeah, clarify.
I think right. So they have a recording contract, I believe. They also have a music publishing contract. So the recording contract was 20 sides a year, right? So, which is essentially 3 singles and a 14-track album, right? So the Beatles put out, 63, or really, I guess they start a little late in 60. Well, they get their singles and their album out in 63. So 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, right? So there's 100, there's 100 songs there. Right. And I think they ended up writing over 200 songs, but so that was their obligation, right? Because they had to put out these records. The movies were something that it's like we could make money and we want to make a movie. It'd be fun and whatever. And they did a Hard Day.
Is that the managers suggesting that first, or the band is actually like, we should do a movie?
No, it's like, we want to we want to be like Elvis and make a movie like this. And literally, you got to remember at the time and still now, the offers are coming left and right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and so they held out and they wanted to do it this way and that way. And they loved the experience and doing Hard Day's Night. Then they're like, okay, well, it's another year. We're supposed to do another movie. And they do Help. And I think it was like they were just stoned and kind of bored and checked out, didn't learn their lines. And the movie reflects that, whatever. And so I think that's when they stopped making movies. They didn't have to. And so then a bunch of cool dudes come along and have this idea to do an animated cartoon, and we could use some of your music, and we're thinking it's based on your song Yellow Submarine, and we do it, and they have pitching yeah, that sounds cool, we should do that. And they sign an agreement. One of the agreements is they have to have X new or original songs for it. And so they literally just go into the scrap heap and go and throw a couple on there. All You Need Is Love is on there too. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was also released on that record. But then, and the flip of it is George Martin doing the orchestrations that he did.
Right.
So, and so they were like, wow, we had very little to do with this. It turned out pretty cool. We showed up at the premiere.
What's Rubber Soul? Yellow Submarine is on Revolver?
Revolver, yeah.
It's Revolver, right.
So, and that's the inspiration for those guys to pitch a movie to them. So it was just we think this is cool and we'll support it. We like it, and they
gotcha.
So that, I think that was it. And Magical Mystery Tour, I think, was at the, it was the swinging 60s, and it's like, we got a camera and let's go off in the woods and make a movie.
It was he was inspired by Paul has said, Ken Kesey going around in the Merry Pranksters, yeah. And I'm gonna film Gonzo filming of whatever happens, and we'll make a story out of it. So they had a few lines written written down and this and that. And I think all that stuff just got tossed away, and they improvised like just a lot of stuff. Or, okay,
it's essentially like music
where's
videos,
the script? And they would just dash it off that morning.
It's kind of like this podcast,
right? But
it is kind of like this podcast.
Well, what I was going to say, but from what you just described, that's clearly different from the first two movies, where it's like they're probably like all the production is done. There's a director hired on. There's a whole studio and everything's involved. And it's like, we just need you guys to show up and read these lines. You don't even have to learn the stuff. Just show up, smile to the camera and do this. Whereas,
Magical Mystery Tour, professional. They expect that you hit your marks and you could do it. We're going to do another take until you get it right. I mean, it was a real movie.
And whereas Magical Mystery Tour is more of like, hey, we want to do our own thing, and we want to just go out and we want to create our own things.
I mean, it was literally it was apparently like John and Paul just like making notes on the back of a napkin and saying, yeah, we're going to do this, and and they had like,
hey, we've made 2 movies. We know how to make a movie. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need a midget, we need a fat lady, let's fill them all on the. That comedian, I think Spike Milligan's on the bus or something like that. And it's like and they fill up the bus, and as one person described it, it's like, we'll just film it, and and whatever happens, we'll capture.
Yeah.
And he said, unfortunately, nothing happened.
Unfortunately, nothing happened.
Yeah.
But they did. You're right, John. That's how that kind of We'll just put all that stuff together.
They were magical. I mean, right? I mean, everything they did. Like, these 2 childhood friends, wrote songs together, and the world changed, right? And so they're like, yeah, we could walk on water. Let's just get a camera, and what we do, people love. And
apparently, Tony, that's a British thing too. Like Paul said, you could they had these, like at Butlin's holiday camp that Ringo was playing at with Rory. The British had these, it was called something else, but in essence, it truly was a Magical Mystery Tour. And you would get on a bus, and they would have these. You would just show up. There would be a coach there. You would get on, and you really don't. And they would take you down to Blackpool, or they would take you over to Brighton, or they would you didn't know where it was going, and that was part of the thrill too. Mm-hmm. And you would go to these places, and you would just spend a day in the British countryside, or at a beach, or at some sort of fun fair, or this or that, and then you'd pile on the bus, and they'd take you back to where you came from, and you paid a certain amount of money, and it was a true thing. So Paul McCartney just kind of was like, I like that idea. Like, well, let's do it with us, with a bunch of freaks.
Yeah.
Okay. Paint the bus psychedelic. Okay.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Well,
of course.
Unfortunately, he also says they tried to do this somewhat secretively. Like, we're going to drive through the British countryside, and we're going to take the bus here and that, and it's just like almost immediate. Like, everybody,
recognizes
the
them.
Paparazzi is watching everything that they do, and they start driving down these British country lanes, and there's 300 cars following them. And they're just like, well, that's not part of the movie. How are we going to get? We can't stop at and go and harass a cow, as like we're going to make this part of the movie, because now there's going to be 300 people outside, filming us, filming each other, and it just like nothing worked out the way they really wanted it to work out. And a part of it was, the public was ruining it for them and stuff like that too. And the other part was probably they were just so stoned on whatever the entire time,
Mm-hmm.
There was just there was nothing to it. But I mean, let's face it, Hard Day's Night that's the movie, and it is just great. The music is great. Help, I love. Because, of course, Help is such a great record, and John
it really is. It really, it's my favorite Mop Top.
I know it is. But the movie, it now it's completely contrived, where it's just like, well, Ringo's got the sacrificial ring on, and we have to get, and they need to do, some sort of sacrifice, and he needs to, but the sacrifice can't be done without the ring. And who's got the ring? Well, Ringo's got the ring. So now we got to get the ring or kill the wearer of the ring after a certain hour. And then the hour goes by and now they're, quote, after Ringo. So it's a caper, and it's like
nice Abbott and Costello style.
And it's really silly. And, and they also literally were saying, like, we got to spend some money. We gotta lose. You're being taxed at the ass, so we need to spend some money. And meanwhile, the Beatles are like, can't we, I kind of want to go where it's warm. Okay, we'll film some of it down in the Bahamas. Hey, I've never been skiing before. Okay, we'll go to the Alps. And they'd be like, a lot of that is just ad hoc as well, and it shows. Again, the music is brilliant, and so it keeps everything kind of going along. Because I can watch clips of the Beatles like standing out on some sort of like grassy highland somewhere, but like playing music, and like I love it, I can watch that, but the rest of it is just, it's silly, and whereas the first one is genuinely it funny, and has like lots of great moments in it. Whereas this one is definitely more, you have to kind of watch it more.
What do you think of Yellow Submarine?
I don't like it. I'm bored by it, I should say.
I'm bored by it too. Yeah.
I find it silly. Like they're in Pepperland and that little Jeremy creature and all that stuff. It just gets to be like, all right, enough of this.
Kids movie? That's the thing. I found as when I watched it as a kid, it was like, it was sort of like, oh, it was colorful and stuff, but it was weird to me.
It was weird to me, and I couldn't understand the accents either.
There was never,
another like I'm struggling.
There was a point in my life where that movie worked for me, whether I was a little kid or a teenager or like a stoner.
At no point in your life it worked
Stone
for
College.
You. Yeah, I get it. Right, yeah. You and me both. It was never.
When was the last time either of you guys watched that movie?
It's been a long time.
Maybe it's time to revisit it.
Decades.
I don't know if I've watched it in 20 years. I want to say I definitely in the late 90s I did.
Maybe now is the time to revisit it and see if it catches this time. It's going to catch with you, or at least you can come back on the show. You could come back and tell us that you still hate it. Either way, you could comment on it.
I'm pretty confident how I feel about it, but maybe it has been a while. I did try Magical Mystery Tour in the last 10 years, and it's like just the production itself is so bad. It's hard, like you can't hear it, and you can't. It's just oof.
I think
it's been a good long while since I've seen that one too.
Right, I was going to say that. I think that's the only thing I've ever seen because it was on one of those PBS Channel 13 fundraisers. I click on it and it's like, oh, this looks interesting. Let me watch it. And I caught a segment. I don't know if I watched a half hour or an hour and a half of it. I don't know. But
the original Let It Be movie is brutal to watch too, Tony. I watched that about 10 years ago. Maybe not even that. It's just like, all right, it's time to revisit this one, and it's just so depressing. As a dopey Beatle fan too, I'm sitting there like, there's got to be something for me, right? And ultimately, I'm just like, what am I doing here watching this? I enjoy like a YouTube dive, to see Beatle footage more than I'm enjoying watching this.
Well, but if you were going to make me watch any of the three ones we were talking about, Yellow Submarine, Magical Mystery, Let It Be, I would watch Let It Be. But Let It Be, because it's real, I guess. But Let It Be, you're right. It's like them mumbling and talking, and like there's not a lot of energy, and it's just sort of like it actually probably really captures the tedium of making the record. Yeah.
Right. The work that's involved, and actually
that's why I'm looking forward to the fun parts that this
and there's just not enough of that, and even the Beatles themselves, they're not killing a lot of the covers that they're doing in there, because when they go down memory lane and they start playing stuff, you're like, well, this is going to spark things up. It's fun to hear them do She Loves You Again or something like that, and it's not great. Like, and they're like, and it's almost like, are you just putting this on for the cameras right now? You wouldn't really be doing this, but you got to do something, and it could never. Whatever they try to do, it never brings it out of the labor that it takes to actually watch. You're just like, there's not a lot going on here. Even like the Paul McCartney George Harrison fight, that's infamous on the Let It Be thing. Whatever it is that you want me to play, I'll do it.
It is
or
pretty
if you don't want me to play
British.
at all, I won't. You could hardly hear it.
Yeah,
you can hardly hear them talking, and people they talk about